Hello, Croeso. Welcome to the re-recording of our Giving Sunday talk from the 25th of January 2026. Unfortunately, I made a little error in the talk recording, moving it onto the laptop, which means I'm re-recording an abridged version now, so that those that weren't with us on Sunday are able to keep up to date with what was shared. Our talk was all age, so this is kind of an abridged version, so it's more accessible through this medium. I hope that this just gives you enough to be able to come along with us on this vision and giving series through January. So talking about money is a strange subject, and one that I know many people will have lots of different feelings bubbling up inside of them as the church talks about money particularly. And we don't talk about money very much in Capel Goleudy. We actually only really do it once a year in any sort of detail on our Giving Sunday, which is this Sunday. And one of the key questions that was posed is kind of like, we all like to have money, we all like to spend money, but why are we so nervous about talking about money? Because do you know who really enjoyed talking about money, who loved to talk often about money? Well, it was Jesus. It's true, he really did. The Bible has a huge amount to say on money. Like, of all the Jesus parables, the main ways of him telling stories of ways that we can live in God's way in the best way possible, 16 of 38, so 42%, nearly half of all of Jesus' parables dealt directly with how we should handle money and possessions. Like in the Gospels, the main part of this Jesus story, 1 of 10 verses, so 288 in all, deal directly with the subject of money. Across the whole Bible, it offers 500 verses on prayer, because prayer is important. Just under 500 verses on faith, because faith is important. But did you know that there are more than 2,000 verses on money and possessions? So much of the Bible focuses on money and possessions because it is such a big topic. And we can often think that it is detached from our faith and discipleship. It is just the way that we live and get by. It is a necessity in the modern world. But Jesus and the writers of the Bible clearly knew it is a core issue to the human nature. Since Adam and Eve, through the garden, throughout history, and still very prevalent today, we as a human race have always strived for more and been drawn to money and possessions. It is just part of our nature. So if we are truly and passionately in pursuit of living a life for Jesus, if we really want to see the kingdom of heaven break out here on Anglesey, on Ynys, this is a key area that we need to get our hearts right with a biblical view of our finances. Aligning that area to God's way of managing money is so important. And so before I get into some practicalities of our church giving ask, here are some simple 3-point take-home biblical view of our finances. First of all, everything is God's and we steward it. The Bible is clear that the earth and everything in it is God's, and we are called to steward it well. This will be a mindset shift for many of us that we have to keep on resetting through discipleship, setting a posture that God, all of this is yours, and I am entrusted to steward it well, so guide me in what I do. The second biblical view is you cannot serve God and money. And this isn't to say that money is evil. I know that many people across the broader church might be like, oh, we better not talk about money. Money is the root of all evil. But that's just not true. That isn't, like, the Bible wouldn't talk about it so much if it was so evil. It is something that we are called to steward with what we have. In fact, some people maybe are called to creative entrepreneurialism, to raising growth of capital money, because it requires a shrewd knowledge and understanding of financial mechanisms. And I know that within our community, there are loads of these people, like especially within the kids, having a very entrepreneurial spirit, selling bracelets or selling their eggs or whatever it is. It's so amazing to see, and it should be encouraged. But in Matthew 6:24, where it says, you cannot serve two masters, what it is asking is, who is your master? It's not saying that money is evil, but it's asking, where do you make your decisions from? Does God lead your decisions, or do financial matters? And then a third point is this: we are called to excel in giving. 2 Corinthians 8 verse 7 says, "But since you excel in everything, in faith, in speech, in knowledge, in complete earnestness, and the love we've kindled in you," which is a brilliant start, isn't it? Like, oh, because you guys are doing so well in all these things. And then the hammer drops. "See that you also excel in this grace of giving." The Corinthians church in this, for me, it's saying, like, you are doing so well, but don't forget money too. Don't forget giving to one another. You are doing really well in your faith and your speech and your knowledge. You have it all in your head, but actually some of the practical action of giving is so important. Because giving and generosity is as much a spiritual discipline, a catalyst for faith, as worship, prayer, or fasting. As we give, it releases this emotional and spiritual hold it can have on our hearts. It forces us to say, "God, I trust you with my finances and provision." It turns us from serving money by always working to grab hold of it more, to money being our servant, a resource for us to use for good, be that to live or to give and bless and sow into building the kingdom of heaven. So everything is God's and we steward. You cannot serve both God and money, and we are called to excel in giving. All three of those points revolve around this tension highlighted in a Bible Project video that we watched during the gathering, where it talks about this tension between giving and stewarding. And how do we do both? It talks about this kind of, this tension between, I know that we want to give, but also I want to make sure that we steward well and look after this and make sure that we don't have too little. But the key is not about the practicality of how much we should give, but it's about the heart posture. It's the question of who is the person that I am becoming as I manage, steward and give of my time, of my giftings, of my skill, and yes, of my money. It's a heart posture towards God. Everything is yours, and what should I keep? What should I give? Lead me, Father. Okay, so I'm just going to transition a little bit into a little bit of kind of it's not an AGM, but it's our transparency and accountability with our community to kind of say this is where we're at financially as a church, and this is what we see going forwards. And then there is a giving ask for people to step into coming together as the family of God, as a community, to see the vision that we have resourced really well for the year ahead. So the summary of 2025 last year, after our giving ask, so hopefully everyone as part of our community have had the giving ask email, which outlined all of our finances and our budget for the year ahead and our faith gap. And it had as part of it a summary of 2025, which basically is an amazing story of incredible provision. That we started with a faith gap of £33,000 last year, and that has been covered and more, actually ending with a net balance of £8,000 more than we started with. And the key distinction in this has been that we saved on some expected outgoings. So the move to the town hall is a cheaper venue. We managed to save in a few other areas, but then also there have been a number of one-off and regular gifts come in throughout the year. There's also been a little bit about a £4,000 grant success too. So all in all, we have ended up positive for the year, which is just incredible because we can re-sow that into kingdom work going forward. So thank you all that have given, and just thank you, Jesus, for being so consistent with your provision for us. It is just incredible. Every year, for 8 years of Capel Goleudy, we've always started with a faith gap, and every year we have seen it close. It's just, it really blows my mind. And so going into this year, if you've missed the last 2 weeks, do catch up on the recordings of our vision series, where we outline this idea that revolves around this sentence, which is we are being formed in discipleship for a life on mission, so that all can taste and see that the Lord is good. We can really see this year that as we invest in discipleship and mission, that people will really begin to see more and more that the Lord is good. They will be able to taste and see. There is such an openness to matters of faith at this time. When you read the signs that are happening and you hear the stories from across the UK and beyond, we are really encouraged, and we want to be a people that can disciple each other well, that can grow in our faith and in our practices following Jesus. And that then comes out through a life on mission, sharing Jesus wherever we are. We've got loads of plans and activities for the year. We have talked a bit as well about a Kingdom Hub too. And I just want to make clear that our budget, currently we don't have the Kingdom Hub seated within that. We have some money set aside from different savings over people's incredible generosity over the years. So we have some money set aside to be able to start to sow into that, but we'd love to see that pot grow so that we can really see this Kingdom Hub come to fruition. But the budget that I'm about to share now does not include any addition to that Kingdom Hub. This is just kind of our core operating costs that we want to see covered for this year. And so this year, based on our current regular giving, because we can't assume for certain levels of one-off gifts or grant funding, we currently anticipate that we have about 74% of our planned budget covered. So it does leave us with a £33,000 faith gap in our budget for this year. And that budget is set up kind of with our key expenditure. It is largely set up as kind of, obviously it pays for all the things that happen, but 63% of our budget actually goes towards staff costs. Like, we are so passionate about being able to resource and release people to do really well and to work on developing kingdom and creating ways for people to see Jesus more and more. So we have 6 staff on team that equate to about 11.83 days. So Rachel is paid 3 days, I am paid 2 days, Uche as ops manager is paid 2 days, Ellen is paid 2 days for kids and youth with an extra half a day for communications, Karen Sadler is paid a day, and Karen Williams is paid for 10 hours a week, so just over a day. And all of these go and do the little beacons and make lunch. A lot of the stuff around our vision is around really resourcing and equipping kids and youth to grow and expand this year. Obviously, we're a growing church, which means that operationally there is a lot more going on with all of our activities and events and all the ways that we engage with small groups. These all require some oversight. And then, of course, Karen Sadler with her pastoral role too, to make sure that we are really well cared for and looked after, leading the amazing pastoral team that she's developed. All of this together is a key part of the way that we function as a church, and it's really important that we resource each of those staff members really well. Then we also give out to other organisations and networks. So the Pioneer Network, we sow into New Wine Cymru, and then also some other international, national and local organisations. We of course fund things like Make Lunch and Little Beacons. Our growing Sunday gatherings cost more to run. And then there's other events like Sozo training that we are sowing into this year. And then finally, of course, we have our weekend away that will be coming up in October. All the details will be coming out in the next few weeks. But we really want to heavily subsidise the weekend away to try and keep ticket prices as low as we can so that everybody can go. We don't want finance to be a barrier for people to come on the weekend away, because it is such a core part of being part of community. So we want to make sure that it's subsidised, so a chunk of our budget goes into that too. And of course, then there's loads of other resource that we sow into. Our thriving Ysgol Seal, one is his new youth initiative established in Llangefni, pastoral care, small groups, courses, investing and growing in leaders to flourish and take on more responsibility as our community grows. So that all leaves us with a faith gap of £33,000. And I suppose that our ask here is unashamedly to say, look, this is where we are at. This is what we would love to see. This is what we think God has put on our heart. So can we each go and ask God what our response should be to help see this covered and more? We always send out this ask once a year in this very direct way at the start of our budget year. So please do excuse that if you find this awkward and you're not a fan of this sort of ask. I do apologise in one way, but then I also don't, because this is something that is so important to see the kingdom resource. And as I said, if we view it that God, everything is yours, what should I give? What should I keep? How should I manage this? Then I think there is something of the heart posture there. And of course that heart posture doesn't necessarily mean you have to give to Capel Goleudy, but I'm really passionate about this. I hope you are too, which is why you're listening to this recording. And so I just want to encourage us together to come together and see that faith gap and more for the Kingdom Hub resourced. Practically how you can give, if you go onto our website, lighthousechurchanglesey.org or capelgoleudymorn.org, onto the giving/Rhoi page, then you can give through Church Suite. There you can set up a one-off or a regular gift through that. And can I just really point out the importance of gift aid for us, that if you pay tax, then if you just stick the gift aid declaration, we can claim an extra 25% on your gift. So if you gave £100, what actually you are giving is £125, although only 100 comes out of your bank. It is such an important part of being able to top this up, and it is a brilliant system that basically we just need that ticked if you do pay tax. So please do make sure you send in your tax declaration, which as you give, you can tick a box that confirms that, or you can email the giving@capelgoleudymorn.org email address with your declaration, which just needs your name and address, and saying that we can claim gift aid on all giving that you give to us. But whatever position you are in, wherever you are at, I simply want to encourage you to ask God what your response should be. Just to say, Father God, everything is yours. And in response to this vision this year, what should my response be? So thank you for listening to this sort of abridged version of our Sunday talk. Sorry that it wasn't the live version, but hopefully that has kept you up to date with where we are as Capel Goleudy. Diolch.